Hi, if I am coming on today looking half done, it's because I am. I realized during my last video, I always start my videos and I'm like, oh, I already have my BB cream and my bronzer and concealer and all that on already. And I don't like to show that to you every single time I do a video because I literally do the same thing every time and it would just be so boring to watch in the beginning of every single video. So I decided to do a video just on that, and that way I can always put a link in the description, and my videos when I'm doing like the actual colors that I'm using and stuff, they won't be as long and as boring. But this is how I get my skin prepped and I get my BB cream, concealer, bronzers, like contouring, whatever on before I start my actual, eye and blush and lip. So if you would like to see how I get my radiant skin at the beginning of every single video, please keep watching. So to start off, I already have moisturizer on. My typical morning moisturizing routine is some sort of serum and then a moisturizer. If you have anything that you put under your eyes to help, like a little eye cream, you can put that on. And then I let that settle in and then I start. So I have combination skin, but more on the dry side. So like in the summer months when we have humidity, my skin is more moisturized, but this time of year in the middle of winter, I tend to be more dry. So I do anything I can to add moisture back into my skin, and that's how it will look nice and even and radiant. Like if it's dry, it's gonna look dull. Your makeup is gonna settle into like any dry spots or crevices. So moisturizing is like the key. Even if you have oily skin, you still need to moisturize. So to start, I love this Loreal line Lumi because it's very illuminating. So I have the Glotion in medium glow, and I'm gonna put that on first before I start anything else. This is gonna add a nice glow to my skin before I put my BB cream on. Next, I'm gonna go in with my BB cream. So the BB cream that I love and swear by, and it's my constant go-to. I wear this literally every day, Purlisse BB cream. So I love this because it's a buildable coverage. So it works well with whatever you're going for. So if you're going for a more natural look, you don't have to put as much on. If you're going for, a more glam look, you can add a little bit more and build it up. But I love it because it makes my skin look natural, moisturized, radiant, and it never looks cakey. And that's my biggest tip is like, I'm not a fan of like a full coverage foundation because I feel like when you're starting with that heavy coverage and then you're adding more and more and more on top of it, then you start to look cakey. So my tip is to start with something lighter and then build up, and you can always use a heavier concealer in areas where you need more coverage. But like all over, you don't really need that much coverage. Like in the forehead area, in the outer parts of the face, you really don't need a full coverage. You can put a concealer here or on certain blemishes or dark spots and build it up that way. So this also has great benefits just to help your skin overall look better. It improves skin complexion, softens and evens skin tone, hydrates, helps reduce lines, wrinkles, dark spots, dullness, and also prevents UVA, UVB damaging because it has SPF 30 in it. So like daily I wear SPF with this, and it also will like match your skin tone. So I use medium this time of year, and then when I'm more tan in the summertime, I'll use medium tan. So you go with whatever one is closest to your complexion, and then it will, if there are a couple like seconds or whatever, it kind of blends in even more. So I'm gonna go ahead and dot this all over my face, and the tools that I use just vary. It depends on how I'm feeling that day. So sometimes I'll just blend it in with my fingertips. Sometimes I use a brush, a beauty blender. So today I'm gonna dot it on, and I'm actually gonna use a brush because that's just the mood that I'm in to get it on, and then I'm gonna use my damp beauty blender just to press it in even more. So as you can see, it's like everywhere, but obviously not blended. So I go into my beauty blender after that, and then I just start dabbing and pressing it into my skin. And I like to make it damp because I feel like I get more hydrated that way, and not as much product is just getting sucked up into my beauty blender, and it's actually pushing it into my skin. Okay, so my BB cream is on. I've let it sit a couple seconds and start to match. So as you can see, you can still see imperfections through there. You can still see my circles a little bit of redness around my nose, but I prefer that. If you wanted more coverage at this point, you could go in with the BB cream again and add it where you feel as though you need it, but I like to just go in with more full coverage concealer where I need full coverage. So I've tried so many concealers, drugstore brand, high-end brands, and the only one I found that I like and that works for me is the Tarte Shape Tape. So, you know, it's a little bit more of a splurge, but it lasts a long time and it works really well. So I will always choose to spend my money on this. And I love this even more now because they came out with a Shape Tape glow wand that like goes with. So I asked the girl at Ulta, I'm like, what's up with this glow wand? Like, what is it for? So she explained it to me as like I guess the company or customers feel as though the Shape Tape concealer is a little bit drying. I personally didn't feel that way, but I guess, you know, after some time, that's what they figured out. So they came up with the glow wand that you put over top of the concealer just to add like a nice glow, and it also helps hydrate. And the two of them together work amazing. It also helps add like that illumination. I mean, you can use the glow wand anywhere that you would like put a highlighter. And you can use it on its own without concealer if you wanted to go for a more natural look and needed a glow somewhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my concealer and the glow wand over top. So I just did that Shape Tape glow wand anywhere that I need brightness. So I always like to brighten like in here, tip of my nose, lip, chin, and then under my eye. And you can see it adds like a nice sheen. It does look nice and moisturized. So at this point, I use a finishing powder all over my face just to lock everything in. The last thing you want is your concealer creasing or, you know, anything settling. So your finishing powder is going to help prevent that from happening. And it's also going to add a nice powdery finish to your face so that then when you go and apply like bronzer or anything of powder, like bronzer, powder, contour, blush, highlighter, anything on top, it will go on much more smoothly because right now my skin feels kind of tacky because I'm using all these nice moisturizing and illuminating products. But if I go put powder on, that pigment is going to grab wherever I put my brush. But if I use a finishing powder, it will help smooth everything out and everything will glide over the skin a lot easier afterwards. So I'm just gonna go in with Tarte Smooth Operator. I'm using a lot of Tarte products I didn't realize. Big brush, swirl it around. Once I have dusted off that extra finishing powder, this is actually my last step that I do before I go ahead with whatever, you know, makeup application I'm doing for the day. So I go in and I use my Ulta Beige bronzer and I just start to bronze up the areas that I prefer to be a little bit darker or a little more contoured. So my level of contouring depends on what kind of makeup look I'm going for. So if it's a more natural look, I'll only put the bronzer on in those areas. If I'm going for a more glam look, I might use my Makeup Revolution contour palette and go in and make it more chiseled in, you know, here and my nose. So let's start with the bronzer. I am going to go for a little bit more of a contoured look today just so I can show you guys. If you were doing a more natural makeup look, I would leave it here, just with that bronzer that just gave us a little bit of shadowing. So I'm gonna go in with my Makeup Revolution palette, and on me, this color tends to be a good match for me. So I think that this is a good palette because it does have like 3 darker shades here that you can choose from. These are like more highlighters, and then these are super shimmery. But this one I feel like looks good on me. It's not too dark and it doesn't look, you know, too drab on me. So I'm gonna take a little bit of product there on my angled brush. And I'm first gonna go in and do my the hollows of my cheeks. I don't like to go too low down in here though. I do it more up here closer to the cheekbone because I don't have that much space here. So I don't really want to darken here. I kind of want to keep this lighter. Now I'm going to go in with that same contour color, and I'm just going to hit my nose a little bit. I don't like to do anything super drastic on my nose. I do like to just give myself a little bit of definition in there. I feel like it just finishes the contour, but you know, I don't like any like crazy lines going on. So I use a brush that's like kind of flat on top, but it's still somewhat fluffy, and it gives me a nice like curve. And then again, I just take my fluffy brush and just smooth that out a little bit. You can also always go in with your beauty blender, and that will help soften it. Okay, and then this is where I leave off. So, you know, you can see I have a little bit of contouring going on in here. I have a nice glow. My skin tone is more even, and this is the beginning of every makeup video that I ever do. Really, the only thing that varies maybe is the level of contouring, but I just figured I would do this. That way I can always link this in the description of all my other videos. I didn't want to bore you guys and make it too monotonous to watch every time, so I'm a creature of habit, and this is my go-to like prep my face routine. So I hope that you like this. I will link all of the products, and if you have any questions about anything that I use or any form of technique, feel free to comment or send me a DM on Instagram at the Almost Daily Des. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, guys. Bye.